Hey guys, Redneck Computer Geek here, and welcome to RCG Racing. Drag racing is starting in about a month and a half from now, so it's time to start doing some final touches on the diesel build and get it out for a test drive. The biggest of which has been setting up this clutch system. Still got a little bit of work to do, but I'm going to grab the camera and show you what's going on here and show you a couple of things I still got to sort out, figure out, and mess around with. So one of the big things about choosing the motor location, so what I did was I took the original generator chassis for the motor and I welded that in place and made sure that all the bolt holes and everything were all accessible. And I made this right here adjustable in order to tension it up. Right now it's got a 102-inch belt on it. I wanted to be able to run anywhere from about 102 to 105-inch belt. And the reason being is because 103 to 105 are really common. You can get them all over the place. So I wanted something that I could grab immediately. Once I figured out where I was in the ballpark, I set it up for that. But a lot of you have asked whether I'm going to be able to get the fuel tank into here, and it should sit without any issue. One of the big problems with this idea is that I have to get the fuel level above the inlet to the pump right here. So as it sits right now, if I jack that fuel tank all the way to hood height, I should have the bottom of it just barely above the pump. I mean, even if I put it at regular ride height, which is right about in here, it still should be above it, but we'll see once we get there. Now, right now the dash is on because I wanted to show you just how interchangeable these Craftsman's plates have ended up being. So this is the bolt hole right here and the bolt hole right here that are behind this point here. And this is the plate that came off the GT. And as you can see, it's all lined up and shifts right in this spot. So I'm going to set this a little bit forward in the final touches, and I haven't put a crossbar in here for strength because this is going to be bolted in place anyway and should bind it all up and bind it together. Now the other thing I've got to do is these two holes here coincide to these two holes here that hold the dash on this particular unit solid. So I think what I'm going to do is put all the side paneling on, get the dash associated, and then, no, because I got to do this first. So I'm going to do this plate first, make sure it's perfect for the shifting, do all the side plates, then put the dash on, and make sure that it's set up exactly for this right here, and then I'll mark those. I'll pull the dash off, I'll drill them, and then tap them through. I wanted to pass along, in case I do this again or somebody else wants this info, some learning experiences I had while setting up this clutch. So this is the stock setup from the GT that we took this rear end out of. And this bolt hole already existed on this Craftsman chassis, which ended up being almost exactly the same position as where the stock one was on the GT. It's only off by a couple of inches. So I bolted it through there, and then originally I had a spring down here on this pulling forward, and that kept binding up. And what I realized was that I had screwed up, and I needed to pull from the top of the clutch over, not from the bottom of the pedal. So this is my clutch linkage that goes from here down. I welded this on the front in order to be able to have the leverage. I welded a nut on top of here and brought that over to this block here that I set up with the ability to move this around. So what I need to do is take and drill another hole through the top of here so I can still move my idler pulley around. So this is going to actually get moved up into the top of this, just enough that if the idler comes up with a 105 belt, that I'll be able to continue using it. So there we are. I'll see if I can reach over and hit the clutch at the same time as pointing at this. See, that goes like that. So if I swing around, you can see like so. And you can see it utterly drop the snot out of that belt, like so. So I've got to go and put catches underneath. If I step across and I punch this, you can see I've got plenty of loose belt there. So right now, that comes out of there, through there, get this out of the way, down through, around, over, under, and then up. And so when we push down to throw the clutch, we drop the belt down across the whole system. Just like that. So what I've got to do in more boring whatever type stuff is I need to make a piece that goes basically from about right here under this pulley and wraps up and around the pulley and then bolts in place so that when I hit the clutch, like so, and that belt drops, it loosens it up as much as possible to the motor. Because we don't want to drop RPM any more than we have to when we're drag racing. We want it to throw that belt as far forward over that pulley as possible. That way we can attempt to see if we can shift this thing while we're drag racing and then go from there. Now, a lot of you have talked with me about whether I could do the high-low. I've also confirmed with some Mudmower guys that they claim that you can supposedly shift second and third gear on the fly as long as you have a good clutch. So we'll see if I blow this thing up the first couple of times I try it. Now the other thing is we've got a starter, and I really would prefer to go and use an onboard battery because this thing needs a heck of a decent starter. And normally the battery goes right here, and that's not an option at this point, because as it is, I'm going to have to raise the fenders to clear these tires. So my debate has been this battery box, which fits a 420 cranking amp battery. If I go like this and I set it down in here, I can put it low enough with the battery terminals on the side towards us that I should be able to still shift without hitting it and access it through the panel if I have to. The other thing that I was debating was getting the battery down in here and then just making a positive lug that comes up that you could clamp a starter onto if you had to. The other thing is with that starter having the solenoid mounted to it, I can just boost it directly from there, but then you're where the belt is, and that's not safe. So that's the debate I'm in right now. And a lot of you guys wanted to talk about bracing. So quickly, while we're here, we'll just do what we usually do for discussion. This piece here is what I recommend to put in on all these Craftsman chassis if you're going to run one, is a brace from here to here, especially in this circumstance where I had to cut out so much of it to get the belt to go. The other one I always do on a Craftsman chassis is this one here at the base of the frame, right in line with this, which helps with the twisting. As you can see, it's all nice and solid now. Now, the one thing I need to go in and do once I'm done with this video is I had to cut all of this out that normally would hold this solid. So this right here, I've got to put a piece that's in line from here to here, which should be no big deal to go and get done. I should be able to do that without too much of a problem. So at this point, the next video you guys will see, hopefully this will have a body on it, and we will try to fire it up and see whether the clutch actually works. But that's where I'm at right now. Thank you guys for supporting this build. Feel free to comment, since YouTube hasn't shut them off on this channel yet. And thank you for supporting us.